The Ambitious Radio Network. Conversations with ambitious entrepreneurs and thought leaders. Are you an entrepreneur, startup junkie, or just someone interested in improving their leadership skills? If you're looking to be motivated, inspired, and uncover what it takes to get to the next level, listening to Ambitious Radio will be well worth the investment of your time. We have weekly engaging conversations with today's most influential thought leaders and entrepreneurs as they discuss their successes, failures, tipping points, and other priceless information that you can apply immediately after listening. Now, here's your host, Doug Parker. It is indeed Texas Money in Business, and it is Ambitious Radio Network on the air today with Doug Parker and another great show waiting for us here. My name is Ron Taylor. It's good to have you right here, and we do have a great show, so we want you to stay right here on KEXB, Experts in Business, aptly titled because we do have experts in business right here at the table. Doug, it's good to have you.
Yeah, great to see you as well, Ron. Thanks for all you do. And, today, as always, we're going to be talking to entrepreneurs and leaders, going through just different things that are interesting and really what makes them ambitious. And so this show would not be possible without our sponsors. We got Grasshopper.com, the entrepreneur's phone system. Most of the time, small business owners need to personally guarantee loans and things to that nature when they want to take out a loan. That can be really tough to do if you've got credit issues. So if you have less than perfect credit, go to repairmycreditnow.com for a free consultation and evaluation. Those guys will help get you back on track. So in this segment, we're going to be going over getting to know the ambitious entrepreneur. Today, as you mentioned, we got a great guest on the show. We've got Robe Dube, president and owner at ImageOne, where they use progressive approach to manage print. So Rob, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thanks, Doug. I'm doing well, and thank you for having me. It's such an honor to be with you, and you're such a good friend, so that makes it even more special.
Well, right back at you. So, when I was going through, obviously we've known each other for years now, and as I'm preparing for the show, I'm researching, I'm looking at all the stuff, and I thought I knew you pretty well, and I'm finding all these other cool things out about you. But as I read this, progressive approach to manage print, I'm thinking, I don't even know, what does that really mean? So like in a 10 to 20 second, maybe elevator pitch, tell me what it is really that you guys do.
Yeah, for sure. We help organizations, both large and small, make smart decisions when they purchase multifunction devices and laser printers. And then what we do is we handle the maintenance and supplies for them, as well as providing them with software solutions. And all this is in an effort to help them save money and be more efficient. So some of our solutions might be helpful from a software standpoint in terms of workflow and security or rules-based. So maybe some people are printing in color, which is more costly than mono or black and white, things of that nature. So that's what we do, and we're going on our 25th year in business in the upcoming year here. So it's been an exciting ride.
Well, congratulations on that success.
Thanks.
So many businesses, they don't make it past the first year or two, or I think it's
That's
something
true.
like 90% fell in the first 5 years. So that's quite an accomplishment. Now, so a while back, and this has been probably 10 years or so ago. So I was approached by, I think it was like Xerox or was Tektronix or something. They had some kind of deal where they give you a free printer, but you just got to buy your ink from them. So you guys find ways to really coordinate everything, it sounds like.
That's right. We'll manage the entire process for the customer, help them make the best decision, obviously, because a lot of times in this industry, in this space, so many customers get sold things that they really don't need. And so, our approach has always been one of transparency and openness and really helping the customer make good decisions, because our goal is 100% retention of our customers. And when you're helping them along the way, do the right things, they're going to stay as a customer for a very long time. And we have proven that to be true over the years. And so it's a formula that's been working very well for us.
Sure. Well, and when we were talking about some of your favorite quotes and things along those lines, I saw that you liked, it's a Shakespeare quote. What was it? What was that quote?
There is no, you put me on the spot here. Hold on. There is,
Well, let me look at my notes here. Actually, I've got it right here. It was there's no legacy so rich as honesty.
Rich as honesty. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and when you're talking about 100% retention, there's no way to get there without being really transparent and honest with people.
Yeah.
So that's a really fantastic thing to to shoot for is 100%. It's not being good or even great. That's 100%. That's perfection. So when you're shooting for that, you
Right.
gotta go over those things. So one of the things that as I was kind of continuing to do some more research, I mean, you guys have a very interesting story. You guys were fresh out of college, you and Joel
Hmm.
Perlman, and
Yep.
you founded ImageOne, and then as I did a little more research, I guess you had a little business together selling blow pops and out of your lockers in
Hmm.
high school, and a T-shirt business
Yes.
and detailing
Yep.
cars. I mean, you guys have kind of been serial entrepreneurs since high school with one another.
We met in the sixth grade, and yeah, when we got into high school, we did start selling the blow pops, and we would buy them by the box, and they equated to a nickel per blow pop, and then we would resell them for a quarter at lunch. So we would skip lunch, we'd go to our locker, and we'd have our co-students lined up down the locker or down the hallway, wanting to purchase them. And I think we just got bitten by a bug then, unknowingly to us. And so then we had these different ventures as we went through high school and even in college, and just kind of stuck with us. And when we were coming out of college, we read about this business, and we looked more into it, and ultimately ended up, starting this business out of our basement. So
Okay. Well, that just that's
yeah.
that's the prototypical, entrepreneurial story. So tell us a little bit about
Totally.
yourself. Now, did you grew up in the Michigan area?
Yes, I grew up in the greater Detroit area, and my family's mostly from the East Coast. But yeah, I've stayed here. It's a great community. Detroit is really, I mean, we're all sort of rallying together, and I'm sure many of your listeners and yourself have heard about many of the stories coming out of Detroit, both good and bad.
Mhm.
But this is a very resilient community, and we're working very hard to help to revitalize the downtown area, like so many companies are. In fact, Joel and I just recently made an investment in a 3D software printing company that is located in the city, directly in Midtown, and we're excited about that. And that's a great complement to what we do here at ImageOne with traditional types of printing. And yeah, it's just an exciting time to be in the area. So it's suited us, and so we've stayed in the greater area.
Cool. That's really interesting. I know that over the years, I've seen obviously the stuff on TV and some of those things, but some of the negative stuff over the past decade or so, and just the
Hmm.
deterioration. But I saw something the other day, and I can't remember the loan company, but it looks like it's like a just really revitalizing and really coming alive
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up. So there's a company called Quicken Loans, and I'm sure many of your listeners have heard of Quicken Loans. And they were one of our first clients 24 years ago.
Whoa.
And they were located in the suburbs of Detroit, and had been for a good number of years, up until just about 5 years ago. And at that time, the founder told his 2,000 employees and vendors, which we are one of those vendors, that they would be moving to the core of the city, right downtown, and that transition took place over a couple of years, and it was finalized about 5 years ago. They now have, that was when they had 2,000 employees. They now have 10,000 employees
Whoa.
in the downtown area. The founder, by the name of Dan Gilbert, who's also majority owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers, coincidentally enough, he started to purchase different buildings, historical buildings around the city, and revitalizing those buildings. So his campus, you might say, is the city, and we are servicing all of his companies and all these different buildings. So we've got people downtown running around and learning the city like we never had before, and it's just really been a great revitalization. And a good number of his employees are millennials. So, there's a real interest in being in the city at this time when you're young and you want that sort of environment. So, an interesting thing that's happened is downtown Detroit currently has a 100% occupancy rate for apartments. So if there's a waiting list for apartments, demand is exceeding supply. So that's a great challenge that the city's now faced with. That is much different than it was 5 years ago. So
That's great. Well, you always like to hear a comeback story, so that is
yes,
very interesting. Well, I
we'll
didn't even.
keep you posted.
Yeah, I look forward to it. I have to do another show just on the revitalization of Detroit. So that's
You
really
could.
cool. Cool.
You
Cool.
could.
So, we always like to talk to our listeners about, different experiences you've had, different books that you like and reasons why. So hopefully they can get something out of it as well. And I noticed that Long Walk to Freedom, it's an autobiography of Nelson Mandela.
Yes.
And tell me about that. I mean, what was it that kind of made that book stand out to you?
I was I was talking to somebody. I was at somewhere. I can't even remember exactly. And they mentioned that book. They said, you might like this book. And it's an undertaking. It's quite a large book. And I've read it a few times. And it's really the autobiography of Nelson Mandela. And, to summarize it in a nutshell for me, it's really about forgiveness. And he was obviously put into jail really for the majority of his life, and amazingly came out of that, very forgiving of the whole situation and what it did to his life. And obviously it turned it upside down. And he ended up becoming president of South Africa. So it's really an amazing story, and just goes to show you that, sometimes in life, not sometimes, oftentimes, all of us are given, circumstances that are very difficult to deal with, but they are very overcomable. And the key thing about it is to really have the right mindset while it's going on. And Nelson Mandela had a very unique ability to naturally do that. And so that's really the message that I keep with me from his life is just that, to have that right mindset and know that you're going to have challenges in your life. And I hope none of us have that level of challenge. But oftentimes those challenges can bring us down, and it's up to us in our own mindset as to how we deal with it. And you can most definitely come out the other side a much, much stronger person and do amazing things with your life, just like he did.
That really is a great kind of summation of that book. I'm sure there's a lot of other things in there, but with forgiveness, so often we're holding on to stuff, and the person that kind of did us wrong, or whatever the case is, they've forgotten about it and long since moved on down the road. So
Yeah.
that bitterness and holding on to stuff can really be detrimental. But I have to check it out now. I like to listen to stuff more than I like to read, and if it's especially a big book, I may have to see if they got it on audio. But with that being said, we'll kind of wrap up this segment and just let our listeners know that if we missed something, you're tuning in late, whatever the case may be, you can always check it out on ambitiousradio.com. Different pieces of the content will be on there on the guest show. So just click on the listen button, previous episodes, and the guest's name will be listed. Today we're talking to Robe Dube of ImageOne. And if you like what you're hearing, go to the Ambitious Radio Network on Facebook and like us there, or follow us on Twitter. Tune in after the break for a brief word from our sponsors when we'll be talking to Robe Dube about his career pursuits and his experiences of becoming an ambitious entrepreneur and starting his own business, ImageOne, right here on the Ambitious Radio Network.
You get the most for your lease with an Autoflex lease, yeah.
When you start shopping for a car, you go in thinking that this time you're really going to get a great deal. Then the haggling starts. You have to fence with the salesman over the price, then verbally joust with the finance manager over the interest rate and all the extras they want to sell you. By the time you get out of there, you're glad to have escaped with your watch and rings. Stop the insanity. There's a better way, and that's to lease your next car from Autoflex Leasing. Call the leasing specialist at Autoflex, and you'll find that getting your next car can be fast, easy, and fun. Your Autoflex specialist leases all makes and models, both new and used. They'll also pick up your trade-in for an appraisal and deliver your new car to your home or office. Imagine leasing your next car and never having to go to a dealer. Happens every day at Autoflex Leasing. To see for yourself, call Autoflex today at 817 or 972-234-1234 or reach them at Autoflex.com. Autoflex Leasing, a better way to lease your next car.
Autoflex lease, oh yeah.
Back in here on Texas Money and Business, and of course the Ambitious Radio Network, full of ambitious people. It always seems to be that way. It is that way. And Doug Parker is here. Doug, it's all yours.
Thank you so much, sir. And all this is, possible by our sponsors. And so we would like to thank those guys for that. We've got all 3 reports. That's all the number 3 reports with an S.com. Many people only check their credit every 3 to 5 years and are financing a new home or maybe purchasing a vehicle, something along those lines. But if there's an issue, it could be too late at that point. So if you're monitoring your credit, that won't be an issue. You'll know to be reactive as opposed to, be proactive as opposed to being reactive. And speaking of a new vehicle, a wise person once said, lease what depreciates and buy what appreciates. So go to AutoFlex Leasing, a better way to lease your next car. Rob, as an entrepreneur, what is one of your personal habits that's contributed most to your success, would you say?
There are a few things. A simple thing is starting my day with my top 3. The top 3 most important things that I absolutely 100% need to get done. And if I do nothing else, and I at least did those top 3, I feel like I've made an impact in the business on that day. So that's something I learned a number of years ago, and I have stayed very disciplined with that practice year over year. And I start each day also with a meditation, just a silent meditation for 45 minutes. And that is within the last 10 years. And I found that to really help me center myself and be in a really good spot to help lead, an amazing group of people and deal with the customers and anybody that comes my way. It just really helps me start my day in the right way.
Sure. Well, those are 2 great pieces, of advice that things that are working for you. And it's always hard, I know for me as an entrepreneur, just to slow down. And so I hear you say a couple of things, figure out what are the most important things, and then take that 45 minutes and meditate. Now, let me ask you this. When you say take 45 minutes silent meditation, so, obviously you see like the yoga type folks, or you see the just sitting there. Are you just kind of getting up in the morning and taking a shower and then sitting there and just kind of just thinking? Is that what you're doing?
That's such a great question, Doug, and it's a great curiosity that people ask me about all the time. Actually, my routine is I actually wake up and I go right into, I have a mat that I sit on, a cushion, I should say, and I sit for 45 minutes quietly with, obviously thoughts. Part of meditation is that you have thoughts going through your mind, and they take many different roads and they cross over, and you're always thinking, and you're always got so much going on, especially in this day and age. There is so much coming at us. And so to start my day and be able to have all those thoughts go and let them sort of roam and just be, and I'm not in solve mode. I'm not trying to get creative and come up with the next greatest whatnot, and then just be aware of those thoughts. And once I'm aware of them, just really focusing on my breath for as long as I can until my thoughts take over, and then they just start roaming again. And then you recognize that you're thinking, and then you come back to your breath. That's sort of the routine of mindfulness meditation, which is really what I practice. And so that's more my routine. And then once I'm done with that, after 45 minutes, I will do a little bit of journaling, not much, and then get started with my day, kind of look at my schedule and start to think about the top 3 things that and write them down that I need to accomplish for the day. And then I usually do a little bit of a workout, and then I take my shower and I'm headed off to the office or meetings or whatever I got going on that day.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. That makes perfect sense. Well, and as an entrepreneur, there's things, and a business owner, there's things that really, there's some stuff you do fantastic. There's some stuff that you make mistakes on. So is there anything that you can think of, one of maybe the biggest mistakes that you've made over the past 25 years or so that kind of affected your business in a negative way? And then how did you go about overcoming that?
Mm. Well, we had a large customer. This one's an easy one for me because I think about it all the time. We had a large customer that it was, I think, about 15 years ago now, and they decided to make a change with their vendor. So we were losing that business, and we take our 100% retention goals very seriously. So it was a very upsetting situation, and we tried to speak with the person that we were dealing with at the company, and we weren't having really great success with that in terms of why they were leaving us and what was going on, and it felt very abrupt. And I ended up going through a network that I have, and in an attempt to try to go above this person's head to get some answers. And I felt that that was the right thing for the organization at the time. But what I ended up finding out was that it was really upsetting to that person. They had made a decision for what they felt was the best for their organization. And for whatever reason, it wasn't being communicated well to us, but I don't think that really matters. And what ended up happening was a bridge was burned, and it didn't need to be. It wasn't going to change the situation. So I think what I learned was, not to sit idly when things like that happen. Maybe I could have done some things differently in terms of trying to connect with him and just let him know that we'll help him make a smooth transition. And if we can ever be there for them in the future if things don't go well with their new vendor, and just really try to work and be more helpful about it as opposed to trying to go about it we're sort of butting heads. So I felt that was a great lesson, and I learned a tremendous amount from it.
Yeah, sometimes your biggest strengths can turn out to be weaknesses in some ways. So you're trying so hard to have the 100% retention at all cost. And
yes,
it kind of can sting you a little bit, and their concern for your 100% retention is not really relevant. So
no, it totally isn't. Yeah, you're right.
That makes a lot of sense. That's great stuff to share. So let me ask you this: if you could go back and tell the Robe Dube of 10 years ago one thing, what would it be?
I would say to slow down. 10 years ago, it was I had sold my business actually in 2004. Joel and I sold to a public company, and for the first time, we were employed by someone other than ourselves, and we were charged with expanding our brand through their sales network of 500 people. And it was a very frustrating time. We ran into a lot of roadblocks. We weren't accustomed, to dealing with a large organization. We've always been a smaller, more nimble organization. And so it was a very fast moving time. It was a very stressful time. And I think coming out of that, because what ultimately happened is they had some executive changeover, and we ended up buying our company back after 18 months. And at that time, I was really coming out, as I mentioned, coming out of this stressful time. What I would have told myself back then is just slow down and take a breath and take it all in and be in the moment. It is what it is at this time. And, the stress isn't going to change any of it. In fact, it probably doesn't. It probably makes it worse. And so I would just say to slow down and kind of take a breath and just be in the moment.
Man, that is great stuff for our ambitious listeners. If you like what you're hearing, subscribe to the Be Ambitious newsletter on our website. Next, we're going to be talking to Robe Dube about ambitious things that he's doing now and what's next on ambitiousradio.com.
Well, we hope you're feeling ambitious here on the Ambitious Radio Network, here on Texas Money and Business, here on KEXB, Experts in Business. We only want to bring you the experts, and Doug Parker's here, an expert in what he does, the Ambitious Radio Network. Doug?
Ron, thanks so much for that. Entrepreneurs, if you are thinking of expanding your business, but you don't want to spend tens of thousands of dollars on a new phone system, consider grasshopper.com. Keep your existing number, multiple extensions, voicemails can be transcribed, and there's no new hardware. Grasshopper.com, the entrepreneur's phone system. Today, we're talking to Robe Dube of ImageOne, and they help people with printing. And it's not like you send them stuff to print for you, business cards and such. It's more your printer needs, and it's really a full program that goes over everything from security and everything else that's out there. But let's talk to you just a little bit kind of about what you're doing now, Rob, and then kind of what's next on your agenda. So, not always as ambition, just focused on business related projects. So tell us kind of about some of the other things that you're working on. I see that you've got Toner for Autism and the Boys and Girls Club, all kinds of cool stuff.
Well, yes, certainly community is a big part of what we are about here at ImageOne, and every single one of our team members has time paid to go out into the community to do things that they're passionate about. My business partner, Joel Perlman's daughter, Danielle, has autism, and so she'll be turning 16 next year, and so that's something that's very near and dear to our heart, and we've been working very hard towards raising a tremendous amount of money to help that cause and support the organizations that have been so helpful to Joel and Danielle and his family over the years. The Boys and Girls Club has been something that's been a huge passion of ours for many years. They do amazing things in our community as well as the communities all across the country. And it's really neat to see the things that our team members here at ImageOne are passionate about and see the things that they're doing week in and week out in their communities. And we're proud to be able to offer them, the time to be able to do that, because it's really a priority for us is just making the world as good of a place as we can make it with, the resources that we have available to us here at ImageOne. So.
Sure, absolutely. And the way that you and I met, everybody else maybe probably doesn't know this, but the Small Giants community, I know you're on the board of directors there, and while it does have some implications to business, that is, I think, it's a nonprofit, right? Or is it?
It's actually not a nonprofit, but its goal is certainly not to. It's really to spread the word about what it means to be a small giant out there versus to be a money making organization.
Well, let's talk about that just a little bit, because so many business owners, I mean, you got to be focused on the money to a certain extent. Otherwise, you just have a hobby. But there's more to it. And when I read Small Giants, it's a book that was authored by Bo Burlingham, editor at Large Ink magazine. And when I read it, I just thought, man, I gotta get some more information on this. And I reached out to Bo, and one thing led to another. And I ran up to Ann Arbor and met with Ari and some of those guys, and they had the first kind of meeting that was related to it. And so tell us a little bit more about Small Giants and the organization itself.
Yeah, so the vision really is to identify, connect, and develop values-driven businesses. So there are many values-driven businesses out there in the leadership. So we're able to connect through the organization, like you mentioned. That's how we met. And then there are what we might call emerging small giants, organizations that have a basic understanding of what it means to be a company like a small giant, but don't know really how to cultivate that. And so that's really one of the pieces to what we do in the Small Giants community. Leadership, it's really about leaders who know who they are and what they want out of business and why. Bo found that to be the case when he did his book, and his book has a bunch of stories about companies that some you would have heard of, others are under the radar screen, you never would have heard of them. Small meaning not in terms of sales numbers or things of that nature, but Bo really defines it in terms of the number of employees that you can you might remember their name, so it could be upwards of 500 employees, people that you see, you recognize, versus organizations that get to a point where, they're 10,000, 30,000, 50,000, where, at a certain point, the leadership just doesn't even know, could pass somebody on the street and wouldn't even know if they worked at the organization. A few other pieces to it. Community, which you and I just talked about, is a very important piece of being a small giant. Relationships, and that's where these organizations maintain close personal ties with their customers and their vendors and things of that nature. Their culture is very strong. It's intimate. It has a basic caring element in the totality of the people's lives. So it's not just about, what they're doing at the business, but it's about helping them in all the challenges that we all experience, in outside of our work life. There's a passion. So most of the leaders have really a burning passion for what their company does. And then you mentioned it in terms of being a hobby. This cannot be a hobby. It needs to be a profitable entity. It has to have a sound business model, and the organization has to be able to protect their margins, because obviously without the profit that goes along with having a company, you can't do any of these other things. So the profit is really the key piece to it.
Sure, absolutely. Well, and one of the cool things that we've been able to do, over the past, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 years is go to these backstage rock star, past opportunities to companies, and one of the ones that you and I went to was in Springfield, Missouri. It was the Springfield Remanufacturing Corporation, and it's got a great story. But you get to meet with the CEOs and different things. Now, there's also fish bowls where they're more like an online type webinar, and you get to ask questions and participate in those. But if somebody wanted to, get more information on the organization or maybe becoming part of that, how would they go about doing that?
Well, the best thing to do is to go to the website as a starter. So that's smallgiants.org.
Okay.
Smallgiants.org. And, everything that you need would be on there. It'll answer 1,000,001 questions. It'll kind of restate some of the things that I just shared with you. It'll give you the ability to join. You can see some of the different types of events that are being held, so on and so forth. So that's always the best way to go about it as a starting point. And Doug, you mentioned when we went to Springfield Remanufacturing, and one of the neat things that we learned as emerging small giants was something that the founder, Jack Stack, instituted in his business in a book that he wrote in conjunction with Bo Burlingham called The Great Game of Business. And really, to just summarize, at a very basic level, Jack learned the art really of open book management, and that is where you share, all your financials with your fellow team members, meaning employees, and teach them how to read financial statements and empower them to make the best decisions possible, given that so often, they are the people closest to the issues within your business. Give them the empowerment to make decisions to help your company be more profitable. And I have found that since joining Small Giants and instituting that in my organization, I have seen such a shift in our profitability and our intelligence of our team members in terms of what they know about our business, how we do business, how we make money, and how they can make an impact on that. And so, just going around to these, what we call passport trips, these backstage passes with the CEOs has been invaluable. I couldn't agree with you more.
Gotcha. Now, let me ask you this. I don't know if those are open to the general public or not, but I think there's a way that you can kind of inquire about those, and there's a couple of those events that are coming up over the next few months, right?
That's right. There's one coming up in January. That'll be in Nashville. And although there are a limited number of spots for these trips, new people who are interested are more than welcome to inquire. And if we have an opening, we most certainly will have you, attend or give you the opportunity to attend. And oftentimes we'll even do that at a discounted rate because we do want to encourage people to learn more about the Small Giants community firsthand. Another great way of getting involved is through what we call our summit, and that takes place once per year. This year it's in June in Denver, and you do not need to be a member to attend that initially. And so, again, go to the website and you can find out all the details about that. But that's a great way to get introduced. And there's a lot of interaction with other fellow entrepreneurs and small giants that's, as you know, very valuable.
Absolutely. I'll firsthand tell you that I have made that investment over the years to attend, and there's always the travel and those kind of things expense, but there's the time, and that seems to be the biggest thing that's hard to give up. However, every time I go, I meet people just like you, like Bo Burlingham, and several other people that ambitious listeners could learn so much from, and I have firsthand. So I'm appreciative of the organization and the time that you're spending volunteering to help keep it running and make it better. And while it's not a nonprofit, it's not something where the organization is making a bunch of money. That's not a profit center. It's really designed to be self-sustaining, I think, more than anything. And I highly recommend smallgiants.org. Check that out. And kind of as we wrap up here, we've got maybe a minute or so, and I know that one of your mentors is Gino Wickman. And I'll tell you what's kind of funny. I was, we were, as a company, we were going through his book Traction a while back, and I hadn't yet connected the dots. So I'm going through and we're reading it, and then somebody in the audio version, it says Robe Dube. It doesn't say Dube. And so I'm like, dude, so what is that? And then I'm looking through the book because I'm reading and highlighting stuff as I'm listening. I'm like, wait a minute, that's my buddy Robe Dube. I didn't know he was in this book. So how did you guys connect? Kind of, and then how is it that you lean on him for mentoring?
Yeah. So Gino was just starting his business. He had sold his family business along with his father. And he was just he had taken so many of the lessons that he learned and how he ended up running his organization. And he decided to start, at the time, it was just really basic consulting business. And somebody had introduced us, and he came in, and we didn't really have a process for how we were running our business. And that's what he was providing. And so that's how we got to know Gino. We were one of his first clients. And so we were guinea pigs to a certain extent. His business has expanded beyond belief at this point. It's really amazing. And his goal is to have 10,000 companies that they have trained in what they call the EOS process. That's called that stands for the Entrepreneurial Operating System. And it's just a way to run your business. And there are many ways to do it, but you need to pick one. And this is the one that we picked, and it's really stuck with us. So meeting him was an amazing shift for our business and for me personally, because he's really become a great friend, even beyond a mentor.
Man, that is fantastic. Well, ambitious times in your organization. After we hear a brief word from our sponsors, we'll be back discussing with Robe Dube what he does to recharge his ambitious mind, body, and spirit right here on the Ambitious Radio Network.
You get the most for your lease with an Autoflex lease, yeah.
When you start shopping for a car, you go in thinking that this time you're really going to get a great deal. Then the haggling starts. You have to fence with the salesman over the price, then verbally joust with the finance manager over the interest rate and all the extras they want to sell you. By the time you get out of there, you're glad to have escaped with your watch and rings. Stop the insanity. There's a better way, and that's to lease your next car from Autoflex Leasing. Call the leasing specialist at Autoflex, and you'll find that getting your next car can be fast, easy, and fun. Your Autoflex specialist leases all makes and models, both new and used. They'll also pick up your trade-in for an appraisal and deliver your new car to your home or office. Imagine leasing your next car and never having to go to a dealer. Happens every day at Autoflex Leasing. To see for yourself, call Autoflex today at 817 or 972-234-1234 or reach them at Autoflex.com. Autoflex Leasing, a better way to lease your next car.
Autoflex lease, oh yeah.
Listening to Texas Money and Business right here on KEXP, Experts in Business, 620 AM. I'm Ron Taylor. Doug Parker is here, and a great guest and a great show today. And Doug, boy, what a great time to be in business, and a wonderful partnership with a lot of the great network of friends and business associates that you have, and Robe Dube is one of them.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, he really is fantastic. Rob Dube of ImageOne, and this segment, we're going to talk about recharging the ambitious mind, body, and spirit. We talked a little bit about meditation and some of the things that he does a little earlier in the show, but it's made possible by RepairMyCreditNow.com. Having bad credit can really be draining. It's okay to not be okay as long as you're on the road to being okay. So let RepairMyCreditNow.com get you back on track and help you be okay. Many ambitious listeners prefer to listen to books as opposed to reading them. I know that's me for sure. So we've teamed up with audible.com to offer one free audiobook. Just go to ambitiousradio.com and click on the Audible banner right there on the page. So Rob, let's talk a little bit about what drains you, what fills you, those kinds of things.
It's a good question about what drains me. You know, I've learned over the years that I need to focus on what matters most. So I try to do my best to stay away from the things that might drain me too much. I call it mind share. So less is more. And that meaning, you know, if I'm doing things, the most important things really, really well, I'm energized about them, and I'm going to do them much better in a much higher quality job. So, you know, that's what the position that I try to put myself as often as possible. But hey, there's real things that happen, and sometimes there's, you know, customer challenges that come up, or contract renewals that, you know, negotiations that can be very tiring and draining and stressful. And so I did mention that meditation has been important in terms of recharging. I recently took, over the last couple of years, I started taking a full week silent meditation retreat to really recharge. So that's one thing that I do. And I exercise pretty regularly. So I'm a runner. And every morning, as part of my routine, I do get out and run. And sleep is important. Good diet, you know, all the things that, you know, I'm not telling anybody anything, you know, that they don't know already. But all things that are really important when you put them all together. I believe that's really the mix that keeps you keeps me energetic and keeps me on top of my game. So I try to be pretty disciplined about all those things.
No, that makes perfect sense. Now, two things I want to kind of elaborate on a little bit. So you said diet. So I have been to several meals with you, and you got a pretty specific diet. So now I can't remember, is it vegan, or what is it exactly that you do?
Yeah, it would be more commonly referred to as vegan. It's a plant-based diet, so I don't eat meat or fish or dairy, anything that comes from animals. And I have, you know, many friends that are animal eaters, and I have no issues with that whatsoever. It's just a diet that I took on a number of years ago. Slowly, I didn't jump into it. I started to take some things out just as an experiment to see how my body would react to my running and some of the biking that I do. And it reacted very well. So I slowly took out some other things, and I had some interesting results. I had pretty severe asthma for a number of years since I was 8 years old, and that has completely gone away. And I don't, you know, that's just how it worked for me. I'm not saying that's the result everybody would get, but that amazed me when I changed my diet. And I had really bad eczema as well, so very dry skin. That was, you know, it could take a toll on certain days, especially up this way where it gets a little dry and cold, and that went away as well. So I had some pretty amazing results with my health, and I just noticed a difference in my energy level and things of that nature. So it's a diet that suits me, but it's not for everybody. I'll tell you that much.
No, I could only imagine. I'm a meatitarian personally. I eat very little plants, so potatoes isn't really a plant. But anyway, so you talked about sleep, you know, the necessity of that. Yep. And so what kind of sleeping hours do you typically get per night?
Yeah, I usually get between 7 and 8. That's seems to be a good number for me. I try to be in bed by 9, you know, where I'm like actually getting into sleep, not just getting into bed, but actually the lights are off and I'm ready to kind of start to doze off. And I'm up around 4:45. So, you know, if I can get to sleep by about 9:15 or 9:30 and I'm up about 4:45, it's usually enough sleep for me. So.
Cool. Very good.
I think everybody has, from what I've determined. Everybody sort of has their different number, but these days, and I have kids 21 years old and 17 years old, and I talk to them because it's so difficult. There's a lot of pressures, like all of us, on the kids, and just make sure you get a good night's sleep. And I know it sounds like something our grandparents would have told us years ago, but it's true. A good night's sleep can make all the difference in the world.
I wholeheartely agree with you. I go to bed at 9 o'clock, and I've got a son that'll be 21 in a couple months, and a daughter that'll be 19 here in a week. And they laugh at me. They think, "Dad, what is wrong with you? Why would you go to bed at 9 o'clock?" I'm like, I got to get up early, and I got to be productive. So sleep is very important. I don't know how these guys do it. They only get 4 or 5 hours. God bless them, but I can't do it.
That's right.
So.
If it works for them, then yeah, good for them. But it doesn't work for us.
Absolutely. Well, hey, let me ask you this: if someone wanted to get in touch with you, we've talked a little bit about business-wise what you do, and talked a little bit about smaller giants, and obviously there may be some of our ambitious listeners that they have a passion for some of the same things that you guys are doing in the community, or they may be in the Michigan area and want to kind of find ways to give back as well. If someone wanted to get in touch with you, how's the best way to do that?
Yeah, an email would be great. They're happy. I'm happy to start, any discussions that way. And you can catch me at R as in Rob Dube, D-U-B-E. So it's rdube at ImageOneWay.com. So rdube at ImageOneWay.com. And yeah, shoot me an email and we can just try to connect from there.
Cool. That sounds fantastic. Well, as we kind of close up here, as always, we want to thank our sponsors. We couldn't make it happen without them. Ambitious Radio is really excited. We've just kind of gone over the 20 episode mark, so we're really pleased. We can't say we're new anymore. That new smell is gone, and so now we got to try to say we're professionals. We can't use that excuse as being new anymore. But we want to thank RepairMyCreditNow.com. Entrepreneurs and small business owners really always have a hard time, whenever looking to save some money on different things. And so we also have free electricity at DFW.com. If you want some more details on that, go to their website. Tune in Wednesdays on the Ambitious Radio Network, where we will interview thought leaders and exciting entrepreneurs changing the faces of their organizations. Remember, you can make money or you can make excuses, but you cannot make both. Go out there and be ambitious.
Thank you for listening to the Ambitious Radio Network, hosted by serial entrepreneur Doug Parker. Join us weekly as we have engaging conversations with ambitious entrepreneurs and thought leaders on topics that can be applied immediately after listening. Like what you've heard? Listen to other interviews at ambitiousradio.com or subscribe on iTunes.